All right, hello everyone. This is Nancy Rebecca and with Intuitive Mind, and this is my weekly series about the dynamics of the human energy field. And this week, I took on the subject of, are we in a karmic crisis? And basically, what is karma and what does that mean? And here I'm thinking I'm going to fit this into a 20-minute conversation. So, as with anything that I teach, I value your own ability to know what's right for you. So, anything that I introduce, even if I personally believe in it, it's really important that you know what you believe in, and that you don't have to be negative about it. You just say, yeah, I don't believe in that, but it can definitely, it was very entertaining for my mind. So I always invite you to allow it to entertain your mind, spark some curiosity, and do your own exploration around the word karma. So I am outside, and we have traffic that is gathering, but it's such a beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest. I just couldn't stand it. It was just like, I just have got to get out into this beautiful daylight. So I'm sitting here on my front porch, and so let's just talk about karma. So karma is a Sanskrit word. It's a Hindu word, and Sanskrit is an ancient language, and what it means is action. Karma is action. And so it's really, because I always look at things from a vibration, a frequency. So what kind of frequency do we put out into the world? That frequency, it's just like hitting the shores, it's going to come back to us. So that kind of sense of if we put out positive things, then positive things are going to come back to us. If we put out negative vibes, then throughout our day, negative vibes are going to come back to us. So in its simplest form, that's basically what karma is. But you can also have, if you're in a relationship, you can be in a relationship with someone who is working out karma, and you are participating in that karmic event. It may have been something that you shared with them, or it may be something that you've just kind of spiritually contracted to assist them with. You can also have large family karmic lessons that your whole family and extended family on your mother and father's side has agreed to come together and work with. But a lot of times we think of karma in a negative sense. It's like karma when somebody does something bad, and we go, karma, but we never think really about positive things that we do, being in service, or just smiling throughout your day, or taking time to smell the roses. That's that kind of putting out that kind of higher frequency, that more refined vibration and frequency is also karma. So you can have positive karma, or you can have negative karma. In its simplest form, we kind of think about it as a bank account. If you do really good things, then I call it crystal dollars. We kind of create these crystal dollars that are going to go into the bank account. If we are being negative, or remaining in this kind of negative environment, that we can then withdraw from the bank so much. We're kind of pulling from our bank account to where maybe we have an overdraft check, and now we have to pay all these penalties because we wrote a bad check and we didn't have the crystal dollars in the bank account. So those are kind of just some general forms, but it really doesn't explain everything, does it? So if I think about the question of what goes around comes around, so we've heard that statement, we reap what we sow. So what kind of seeds are you planting in your life that are going to blossom in your garden? And at the end of this video, we're going to do a little meditation to tend to your own karmic garden. But we say, why do bad things always seem to happen to good people? I know I've said that a lot, but there's also the opposite side of that. why are there bad people in the world and they always seem to have good things happen to them? So both of those subjects are, I'm kind of put them on the sidebar because those are complex, much more complex systems of understanding. Because it can be maybe our past lives where we were good or not so good. It can also be our ancestors. So if we just think about our ancestors that came before us, did our ancestors create and manifest a lot of strength and resilience through coming through hardships? Maybe they were the victims of persecution and they grew and they thrived and they just kept focusing forward and they became stronger. Then they're going to infuse that strength into your life. So you're the benefactor of all that good karma that your ancestors created. But your ancestors could have also been maybe the persecutors, the ones who persecuted because of religious beliefs or cultural beliefs. Just think about the United States, where we came over and colonized the United States and moved people off their lands, or we had slavery. So many of us here in the United States can hold that ancestral lineage in our DNA and our genes. And so their power imbalances, we are the benefactor of those power imbalances. I write a little bit in my blog about once I started kind of researching my own ancestral line, I was kind of shocked because from my father's line, when I did my DNA, I found out that in my DNA on my father's side, I share DNA with ancestors that were African American that came from Africa. And in fact, when I got the information, I was literally sent this image, and they could trace the genetics back to literally where my ancestors came from Africa, were loaded onto the slave ship, and then that slave ship came to America, where my ancestors were put into slavery. And so then, of course, I would love to think that it was a love relationship, but highly unlikely. It was probably a forced relationship that produced my ancestors on my paternal side. But then here's the real kicker. On my maternal side, when I went to do research, finding out that I had a 5 times great grandfather that was from England who was a captain of a slave ship. When I was able to kind of follow that information, he also went to that same exact area. So isn't that wild to think that my maternal ancestors may have been the slave ship taking the slaves of my other ancestors, and that carried them to the New World, to America. And now it is, 5-6 generations later, those two lineages came together within my body so that I could resolve that conflict within myself. So that can be another extension of karma, where I'm living out a really good life as a healer, as a teacher, as a nurse. I love to be in service, and yet I can have my own tragedies that happen in life that I need to resolve. So in some way, I believe I'm helping my ancient ancestors, my ancestors in the recent past, resolve some out of balance karma that needs to be resolved. So again, it's just another belief system that you can entertain yourself with. So that can be karma that can answer why I might have a good life, but maybe things don't always happen for me in good ways. But I can correct that within myself. So really, I see karma as an energetic piece that is all about us taking responsibility, even if we don't feel that it's our fault. Even if we would like to blame somebody else for things gone wrong, it's about us taking responsibility, and that we are responsible if we are involved. So that kind of leads me into, there's another teaching that's quite similar to karma that is about Ho'oponopono, which is a Hawaiian teaching. Now, there's a lot of books out there, there's a lot of videos about Ho'oponopono, but one of them is Zero Limits. I think Joe Vitale wrote the book. I think it was Dr. Hugh Lin, who was a Hawaiian spiritual elder. And so it's a very kind of westernized, kind of Americanized way of teaching so that us in the West can understand it. So I do invite you to read that book again, just to kind of get a sense about what that means. But when I was in Hawaii on the Big Island, I met a kahuna, a shaman who, as we got to talking, she said she was the elder keeper of the ancient Ho'oponopono teachings. So I was like, oh, I've read that book. And so she said, oh, you've read the Americanized version. But we kind of got to talking about this, and she was kind of explaining that if she meets me, so she gave me that example, that she's assuming that our ancestors have had some form of connection in the past. And so in her, after meeting me, she might go into prayer and say, ask, if my ancestors have ever harmed your ancestors, I'm sorry, please forgive my ancestors. I love you and I thank you. But she will also say, if any of Nancy's ancestors in the past have harmed my ancestors, then I forgive them. And I thank them for the lessons that they provided, and thank her for the opportunity to bring her ancestors in so that we can resolve and clear this. And you know, I love you and I thank you. So there's that kind of deeper teaching that believes that we are all connected. And if you're having a bad day, then I am a part of that bad day, and I can clear that bad day in me, and it's going to help you clear that bad day in you. So it's like looking at a homeless person. It isn't like us and them. It's like, oh, their karma made them homeless. It's like in Ho'oponopono, it's more like you're homeless. You're expressing that homelessness to help bring balance into an imbalanced energetic state. And so then you would kind of say, you know, if my ancestors have harmed your ancestors or yours have harmed mine, then let's clear that slate. Let's clean that up energetically. But I also like to bring in Christianity in here as well, because in Christianity, you know, there's that belief that if you have harmed others or maybe not behaved in a karmically kind of balanced way, that you can pray, you can ask God, you can ask Jesus, you know, or Jesus will ask God on your behalf to be instantly forgiven. And if you are really sincere in your heart and soul, I do believe that instant forgiveness is available to all of us. But remember, I said the word sincerity. Are you sincerely asking to be forgiven? Will you allow that? Can you forgive yourself to the point to allow that forgiveness in? But in that, I believe if we're really grounded and we're in our body, then we're working off of present moment action. So in this moment, if I'm sending out these beautiful vibes to you, that in the next moment, those beautiful vibes will come back to me. So I'll give you an example. So I was trying to understand this, and I learn best through experience. So I create my own experiences, and I invite you to go out and create your experience as well. So I was teaching in North Carolina, had taught the weekend, flying home, and so I was going to the airport, and I thought, I'm going to try something, because a part of me, even though I'm making videos, my internal nature can be quite shy and reserved, and definitely would not just approach a stranger unless somebody else was standing there. So I thought, I'm just going to try to find something good about each person that I meet, and I'm going to say something. So it might be like, excuse me, I just want to share with you that I really like that hair clip that you have, or I really like how you fix your hair, wow, that color looks really great on you. Where did you get that purse? That's the cutest handbag. So, I mean, it wasn't anything kind of spiritual or profound. It was just these little things. But remember, I'm talking about the frequency that I was putting out, the vibration I was putting out. So it didn't really matter what I was talking about. It just mattered that vibe that was going out. I felt better. I felt really good. Went ahead and got on my flight. I think I had a layover either in New York or Washington, D.C. And so once I got off the plane to get on the next plane, I thought, let me grab a sandwich or something. As I was going to get some food to take on the next flight with me, I had people coming up to me and saying, wow, I really like your hair. Oh, I like that bag. Oh, I like that sweater that you're wearing. Where did you get that? Do you know you've got the most beautiful smile? And so that's called kind of instant karma. It only took a couple of hours of that vibe that I was putting out was coming back to me. So I also think about, the vibe that you're putting out in the family. So let's imagine you're standing in your kitchen and you're just making the coffee. You haven't even had your first sip yet. The kids come running into the kitchen, Mom, Mom, and they're like just all excited and full of energy. And you're like, get the heck out of the kitchen. I haven't even had a cup of coffee yet. Sorry. I haven't even had a cup of coffee yet. Like, why do you kids have to be so loud? So you can see there's that kind of vibe, that kind of frequency that can be kind of agitated or spiky. But another way you can do it is the kids come running in, Mom, Mom, you haven't even had your cup of coffee, and you can say, wow, with your heart open, you both look bright and ready to take on the day, and you look so happy. But Mom needs a little bit of quiet time here, so I'm going to have a cup of coffee and just in my quiet space, and then right after that, I want to hear if you had any dreams last night. So you can see the difference in vibe, so you really can take responsibility for what you're putting out there. And I invite you, as you go on throughout your day today and this week, to find your own ways that you can send out that frequency. And you don't even have to say anything. You can just have your heart open and just say, I want to be a force of goodness in the world. And you can just send out that vibe and frequency. So I apologize again for the activity that seems to be increasing as I'm recording this outside, and that's not unusual. Whenever there's some good vibes going on, cars and people and animals and birds will be drawn to the good vibes that we're creating by listening to this video and by me creating the video. Just allow yourself to incorporate those sounds into this meditation. When I ask Spirit, how can I do a meditation that will assist everyone listening to this teaching about karma? And Spirit said, create a karmic garden. So I'm going to ask you now to go ahead and close your eyes. Whew, and turn within. Even if you're not feeling like you have positive vibes right now, just take a moment to thank your body for just being willing to wake up every day. Think of some beautiful vibes that you can send your own human physical self. Nice, nice. Now say hello to your spirit. Thank your spirit for all the joy and excitement and enthusiasm that it has for life. and ask your own spirit to share some of that vibe with you. Some of that joy, that love, that enthusiasm for where we are on the earth at this time. Just like this elixir, just allow your human energy field to drink it in. You deserve it. You are worthy of the light of your own soul. And then imagine that you are uniting your energy field with Mother Earth's energy field by creating a very deep grounding system that goes at 4,000 miles deep to the core of the earth, and anchor your light there. Remind yourself of what today's date is, the date that you're listening to this recording, as well as your age. There is some revving of a motorcycle in the background, and I'm still not quite certain where it's going to come from. So again, just breathe through it if it passes through our meditation. I believe that it's a kind of a karmic vibe that's coming in. It's a sound that's going to help us to shift any imbalances into a balanced state. Allow yourself, invite yourself to let go of anything that may block you from letting go of old, out of balance karma. All right, now imagine that you are walking towards your beautiful karmic garden. And this karmic garden is full of many, many beautiful flowers of multiple varieties. So you can imagine that you're walking through a forest and a path, and you come into a clearing where your karmic garden is. Or maybe it has a high hedge around it with a gate system, and you're going to pass through the gate. But then allow yourself to step in the center of your karmic garden. Remember, karmic simply means action. And knowing that you can turn 360 degrees, looking at all the colors, all the different levels of growth in your karmic garden. Maybe you have some buds that haven't even begun to open yet. You have some that are just starting to open, and then you have others that are in full bloom. Maybe you have some weeds or old dried branches that have fallen off a tree. Maybe some kind of world karmic event kind of fell into your garden in the form of, maybe some old junk. And so it's just this vibe. Just keep that positive vibe going, this lovely vibe. If you find that there's a segment of your garden that just doesn't seem to grow anything, Allow that frequency of love and tenderness and kindness to assist you to tend to that part of your garden that doesn't seem to be able to foster and support growth, and bend down and touch that ground and just send some love and send some nourishing energy to that area. Clean out the weeds and maybe move some things to allow some sunshine to come in to your garden. Maybe you want to invite some ascended masters or angelic beings to come in and assist you. Maybe there's a flower that just is off kilter, and you want to start to offer some healing energy there. Maybe you want to offer some forgiveness. Maybe you want to receive some forgiveness. I can sense you all out there very busy working with your garden. Beautiful. There's definitely some energetic shifting taking place. And so you can always go back. You can pause this if you want to stay in your recording. Stay in your garden. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you just to step out of your garden, step back onto the path, come back, bring your consciousness back to being present of where you are in the room, knowing that you can go back anytime to tend to your karmic garden. And in turn, it ends up healing your dynamic energy field. So I just want to finish up here with a couple of minutes just talking about the subject is, are we in a karmic crisis? Is our world in a karmic crisis? And there are some teachings that talk about the ancient ones, the ancient civilizations that existed before us. We could talk about Atlantis or Lemuria or the Sumerians from Mesopotamia. So there's a lot of the ancient teachings that do talk about where that we lived in peace and harmony as a culture, and then at some point it became out of balance. And then in some of the ancient writings, they talk about the great natural disasters, whether it was floods or earthquakes or volcanoes that came through to kind of wipe the slate clean so that we could start again. And so if that is potentially happening in the world for us, are we in a karmic crisis? I can't say yes, I can't say no. I'm in a human body. You know, I can't answer those bigger questions like that. But for me personally, I tend to believe that. I know that we have some karmic imbalances, whether it was colonization, whether it's tapping into oil, whether it's moving the indigenous people off of their land onto other land so that we could benefit from mineral rights. I know that my ancestors enslaved other human beings. I know that other human beings enslaved some of my ancestors. So if we kind of think that there's a global garden that can be tended to, then I invite you to join with me and others in tending to our karmic global garden, and to heal it, to bring it back into balance and harmony with nature, so that maybe we wouldn't have to experience these kind of natural disasters that we're going through. So again, just food for thought. It's just a way of thinking that maybe you haven't thought of before. So I invite you, as you go out into the world today, how can you send out that thread, that frequency that's going to be uplifting, that's going to be healing for all? How can you make those choices any minute that others can benefit from, and then pass it forward? So thank you again, everyone, for joining me here with Nancy Rebecca on Intuitive Mind. You can visit my website at Intuitive Mind. If you like these videos, click the subscribe button. Make a comment. I read all the comments and I respond to as many as I can. And I really am pleased and happy to know that when I look up from the river of life, that you all are there in it with me. We are in it together. All right, take care, everyone, and have a fantastic week.